Hey YouTube, Jesus Freak with you once again. This might be a lengthy video, so please watch the entire video before you comment. I really hope you will do that. I've always been honest with you all here in the YouTube community. I believe in being honest in everything I do. I've never lied. Every time someone's asked a question, I've done my best to give a very honest answer. Even when the questions have been loaded questions, I have tried not to sidestep them, and I've tried to be as honest as I can. Recently, there's a lot of drama going on with the Jezuzfreek777 channel. People are labeling me a homicidal maniac in the waiting, and wait. They're saying that I'm a danger to my children and such, that, I'm going to kill my, family members or something, It's just ridiculous that people would say something like that or insinuate that. Now, the reason they insinuate that is because of a couple reasons. I'm going to give you the background story. 4 or 5 years ago, I joined YouTube, round about then, and I came across an atheist named Brett Keane, and he asked me a series of questions and an interaction. He asked via a video, one question in particular. He said, if you were absolutely certain God was talking to you and you knew it was God, would you go to St. Louis and kill everyone? And I knew that if I said yes, I would make myself look like a homicidal maniac, and if I said no, I would make God look like a homicidal maniac. I didn't want to just sidestep the question, so I gave him a yes or no answer. He asked a yes or no question. I said yes. I tried to explain that God is just in all that he does, and I tried to explain that God wouldn't ask that necessarily, but they kind of fell on deaf ears. People just ran with that. Oh, Jesus Freak will kill everybody in St. Louis. As a matter of fact, Brett Keane made a video looping that line over and over and over again, entitled it, Jesus Geek Gets Nailed. It was a nice little victory moment for the atheist community. They made a Christian look like a wacko. Now, let's fast forward a little bit more. People kept hammering me with that question because they didn't hear all of everything. I pulled, my videos down because I was getting a lot of flack. And sadly, I should have left them be. But now I'm going to re-explain, right now, and I will leave this video up and always point people to this video. People were leaving little comments on my videos, and it was no big deal. I was weathering the storm. It was all right. I knew my answer was sound. Someone asked me, they said, hey, would you do like Abraham did with his son Isaac, would you do that? And my answer was along the lines, I said, I hope that God would give me the faith, the strength to be as faithful, I pray that I would have the faith and the strength to be obedient, something along that lines. I didn't give quite a yes or no because I thought, here's that same question kind of reworded. They're trying to, get me in an aha, gotcha moment again. Once again, people are making a big deal. Now, that was a long time ago. I want to answer why I can say yes to those questions, or say, I hope that God would give me the strength to be obedient. First and foremost, I put myself I answer the question in the frame of mind that is presented. The first question was, if you knew absolutely God was talking to you. I'm putting myself in the frame of mind that if God was asking me to kill someone, he would be doing so during the time when we would not be living under the blood covenant of Christ. You see, sin required sacrifice, and there are instances in the Bible where Israel was commanded to wipe out tribes, nations, and such, because they lived in the time that blood sacrifice was required. Now, we live in a time when blood sacrifice is required, but Christ is the substitutionary sacrifice. His blood atones for all. So I answer the question, if God were to ask me, then he would be asking me during a time when Christ would have yet to come. We would be living under that time of works where we had to perform the blood sacrifice to gain redemption for our sins, to gain atonement. So I answer the question, yes. It was part of being obedient. Of course, the reasoning behind that is never listened to. It's always, oh, he said he'd kill people. Now let's address the Abraham-Isaac issue. Once again, I answered the question that I said that I would pray that God would, give me that strength to be obedient. The reason I say that is because if I was Abraham, I don't know if I would be as strong as Abraham was, but I would pray that God would allow me to be that strong, to give me that strength. You see, because I view the story of Abraham and Isaac as a very beautiful story. People just see the short, condensed version where Abraham's going to sacrifice his child and they go, ooh, grisly, horrible. But they don't read the entire story. Any story, if you just take a snippet out of it, can be horrible looking. But when you see the entirety, it's like, wow, that's not so bad, What those people did was not negative at all. In Abraham and Isaac, that story is just like that. When you look at the foreshadowing of that story, it is the greatest moment of foreshadowing in the Bible. And it is also one of the most humanitarian moments that God shows us. God shows us his humane side, his love and his nature, and he almost becomes tangible from a human perspective in my eyes. We see a God that is showing Abraham how much he loves us. He loves us so much that he's going to sacrifice his son, and he allows Abraham to understand how much he loves his son, because Abraham begged God, God, please give me a son. Please give me a son. And after all this time, he finally gets a son, and God says, for atonement, you need to sacrifice. You need to sacrifice Isaac. And Abraham struggles, but he does it. The Bible, says he does. He's obedient. But I'm sure inside there was a struggle. He didn't want to lose his child. But his obedience to God was awesome. The man loved and trusted God. And God shows us how much he loves us by giving us his son. And he shows us that with that story of Abraham and Isaac. Of course, we know it ends beautifully because God says, whoa, Abraham, good enough. You passed. You know what I mean. You're cool with me. He says, don't sacrifice Isaac. There's a ram in the thicket. Sacrifice the ram. I think it's a beautiful story when viewed properly, when we look at the entire story. So when someone says, would I be able to do to my kids what Abraham did to Isaac? If I was in the situation that Abraham was, and I lived in the time when there wasn't a blood covenant of Christ that I could rely upon, the blood that had to be spilled had to be done in a system of works, I would pray that God would be able to give me the strength to be obedient. But God would never come to me and say, Jesus freak, sacrifice your family, kill people. Not now. I live under the grace of Christ. So I answered those questions contextually. I answered those questions as best as I possibly could, in a manner that does not reflect poorly on God, and in a manner that I think is absolutely correct and biblical. But people want to vilify me, paint me as a monster. I'm the bad guy. Whatever. I would never hurt my children. I don't even like corporal punishment, really. I'm a good dad. I try to be a good father to my, I try to do what's right. I don't hurt people. I'm not going to try to defend myself to each and every one of you. I know who I am. God knows who I am. I answer to God. And for people to vilify and, try to assassinate my character, Jesus freak is a homicidal maniac in waiting, that's just ludicrous. But you know how this actually came out? Let me spill the beans. Most of y'all know, but if you've watched the videos. But I was speaking against homosexuality. And oh man, that makes people mad. If I say homosexuality is an abomination according to God, people get PO'd. They get so mad. They get so mad that I've had 2 videos flagged off of YouTube. And those videos both addressed homosexuality. I make it a point not to address homosexuality a lot because of that reason. But I was talking about it in Stickcam. I wasn't villainizing homosexuals. I was very clear that homosexuality was no worse than, lying or stealing or cheating or being adulterous or coveting. But yet that irritated people so much that they have to bring back the past oh, Jesus Freak said he'd do this, and now we need to call DCFS and Department of Child Protective Services, and now we need to... They basically want to silence me. They want to shut me up and dangle some bad thing. Look what you said, Jesus Freak. Oh, you're bad. Not going to work with me. You're not going to shame me. I've answered the questions honestly. As a Christian, I can hold my head up and say, you know, I place my obedience to God above anything else. You know, God would never ask me to harm anyone now. So your little hypotheticals, when I answer them, I'm answering them in the context that you present them. I'm answering them from a realistic perspective. You try to trick me, but it's not going to work. I'm also not going to be bullied and have you ask me trick questions and, ooh, he's going to make himself look bad here. He's too scared. Not going to happen. I'm going to answer the questions. I will never shy away from truth. Maybe I needed to clarify this sooner, but I have clarified this many times, and yet people still, they decide not to listen. So I'm going to leave this video as the answer to all those claims. So when someone makes a points towards my answer previously, that I would just be able to direct you to this video and you will have the answers. Other than that, I don't really know what to say. If you think you're going to silence me and shut me up because you shamed me and you're going to drive me off YouTube, try again. I believe in God. I believe in the power of Christ. I'm just a simple man that believes in God. I own a couple cameras and I love God very much. And I want to glorify God and I want to share the gospel message with those that don't believe. And I want to try to empower those that do believe and help maybe teach them some things that they don't know about Christianity and encourage them in their walk. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to cower because you think you pwned me or because you think I'm a threat. I'm not worried about your accusations. I'm not worried about your charges. I'm not worried about whether you like me, whether you think I'm a good guy or not. I really don't care what you think at this point. I'm here to glorify God. And if you agree with what I say, God gets all that glory. If you disagree with what I say, take it up with Him. I do pray God blesses each and every one of you. Whether you hate my guts or not, I pray God opens your heart and compels you to receive His love and kindness that you may partake in heaven. I mean that with absolute sincerity. I want no one to burn in hell. I want all of us to rejoice at the kingdom, at the table of our Heavenly Father, you know, in heaven. That we can all sit around and feast in His presence. I pray that we can all be there. So, I'm going to love my enemies here at this point. You want to villainize me and spew vitriol to me and send your little minions and trolls and whatever to come flood my inboxes and such? Fine. I'll delete and I'll block those people that are just being absolutely hateful. I have no problem doing that. To those of you that have been reasonable and cool or have objected to some Christian issues or objected to things that I say in a civil manner, you will always have a platform for discussion on my comment sections, in my videos, and in Stickam. I pray God blesses you with this message. I pray God helps you to understand where I'm coming from, and I hope you can take from this that would never hurt anybody. I would never, try to harm people. I just want to glorify God. And I pray that you take upon yourself the responsibility of understanding this information that I've given to you now and not misinterpreting and twisting what I say. I pray God blesses you all.